There was a lot of action taking place up there very quickly. But again, the response time was really incredible. And we're going to reschedule. We're going to do it again. We're not going to let anybody take over our society. We're not going to cancel things out because we can't do that. We wanted to stay tonight. I will tell you, I fought like hell to stay. But it was protocol. They said, please, sir, because they didn't know there was a lot of action going on, and they didn't know could there be probably a lone shooter, but we'll find out. We'll find out very quickly. They have it very well under control. So I want to thank everybody very much. And Todd Blanche, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Tonight you saw the very worst and the very best of this country. You saw the very worst by the actions of that coward that the President just talked about. But you also saw the very best because you saw law enforcement do exactly what they're supposed to do. And you'll see the videos come out, I expect, very shortly, and you'll see law enforcement do exactly what we want them to do. And so I echo what what President Trump just said, that we are extraordinarily grateful and appreciative of the men and women of law enforcement that did their jobs tonight, including one who was injured. This investigation is ongoing. I expect you will see charges filed shortly. The charges should be self-evident given the conduct, but as you'll hear, there will be multiple charges surrounding the shooting, around the possession of firearms, and anything else that we can get on this guy. The investigation is obviously ongoing and just started. There is federal law enforcement already working on search warrants and doing their job, and I don't want to get ahead of them and don't want to get ahead of the work that they're doing even as we speak. Director Patel and I were just on the crime scene a short while ago, and everybody in this room should rest assured that the Metropolitan Police Department, the FBI, Secret Service, everybody's on the scene doing their job. I know that the police chief is going to give an update from the scene as soon as we're finished here, and I obviously will lead the details of what they have learned to him. But in the meantime, I just want to thank everybody in this room for the courage. And I want to thank President Trump for his words, and I promise you, justice will be served. Thank you. Director Patel.
Thank you, General. Thank you, Mr. President. The President's absolutely right. You saw the best resolve of American law enforcement because you, Mr. President, inspire them 24/7, 365. You give them the resources that they need, and they know that you have their back. And that is a changing dynamic in this country, and that's why you saw brave Secret Service agents respond immediately, swiftly, subdue and take down the suspect, and safeguard the lives of thousands of individuals at that hotel. Thanks to our interagency partnership with the Department of Homeland Security and the Metropolitan Police Department, the FBI was rapidly deployed onto the scene, took over the evidence response unit, is examining all the ballistics that were found on scene to include the long gun and the shell casings. We are conducting witness interviews as we speak. You will hear from our team on the scene there with the mayor and the head of the FBI field division there. But please know what the Attorney General has just said reigns no truer. You saw the very best of America tonight. The very best unite us at a time of uncertainty, because we have leadership here with the President and the Vice President that backs law enforcement, and the men and women that I shook their hands on the scene today could not have been prouder to show up on scene. And as the Attorney General said, make no mistake, we are conducting witness interviews. If you have any information whatsoever related to this event, 1-800-CALL-FBI, 1-800-CALL-FBI. No piece of information is too small. No piece of information is inadequate. We will evaluate it all. We will also be conducting interviews of those that were there. And if any of those individuals have information, please come forward to law enforcement or the FBI or the Metropolitan Police Department. We will be examining this individual's background thoroughly. That process has already started, and we are going to ensure that he was either a lone wolf actor or anyone else that was responsible. We will analyze all evidence immediately to make sure that we safeguard this country. Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, thank you for your leadership. Attorney General and Homeland Secretary Merlin, thank you for your partnership in law enforcement.
Thank you. Okay, we'll do a couple, and then we go to the chair. Madam Chairman, I just want to say you did a fantastic job. What a beautiful evening, and we're going to reschedule. Okay. And after that, it's very tough for her to ask a killer question, right? But you have done a fantastic job. Please.
Mr. President, I appreciate it. As you mentioned, it all happened so quickly, and I wonder, especially because unfortunately you have experience with these sorts of threats. In that moment, when you realized there was a threat and service agents were telling us to get down, can you describe what was going through your mind, how you were feeling in that moment?
That's a very good question, actually. It's always shocking when something like this happens. It's happened to me a little bit, and that never changes. The fact, we were sitting right next to each other, the First Lady on my right, and I heard a noise and sort of thought it was a tray. I thought it was a tray going down. I've heard that many times, and it was a pretty loud noise. And it was from quite far away. He hadn't breached the area at all. They really got him. But so it was quite far away, but it was a gun. And some people really understood that pretty quickly. Other people didn't. I was watching to see what was happening. Probably should have gone down even faster. Melania was very cognizant, I think, of what happened. I think she knew immediately what happened. She was saying, "That's a bad noise." And we were whisked away along with other people, but we were really whisked away. And again, the performance of the Secret Service and the police, all of the law enforcement, I thought was really good. So it was very quick. There wasn't a lot of time to be thinking, because it was a matter of seconds before we were out the door and gone into an area. We very much, and you wanted to too, we very much wanted to continue it, because I don't like to let these sick people, these thugs, these horrible, horrible people, change the fabric of our life, change the course of what we do. So we held out. You were there. We held out right till the end, but they didn't want to take a chance, and I understand there was protocol. But we're going to be doing one hopefully within the next 30 days or sooner, and I am ready, willing, and able. And I was all set to really rip it. And I said to my people, this would be the most inappropriate speech ever made if I said what. So I'll have to save it. I don't know if I could ever be as rough as I was going to be tonight. I think I'm going to be probably very nice. I'll be very boring the next time, but we're going to have a great event. And you did a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. There's a report in the New York Post that this assailant assembled his weapon somewhere on site at the hotel. What do you think about that? And I ask respectfully, why do you think this keeps happening to you?
Well, you know, I've studied assassinations, and I must tell you, the most impactful people, the people that do the most, you take a look at the people, Abraham Lincoln, I mean, you go through the people that have gone through this, where they got them. But the people that do the most, the people that make the biggest impact, they're the ones that they go after. They don't go after the ones that don't do much because they like it that way. And when you look at the people that have either, whether it was an attempt or a successful attempt, they're very impactful people. Just take a look at the names there, the big names. And I hate to say I'm honored by that, but I've done a lot. We've done a lot. We've taken this country, and we were a laughing stock for years, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We've changed this country, and there are a lot of people that are not happy about that. So I think that's the answer, Peter.
And after Butler, your team for a while rethought outdoor events.
Yeah.
Do you think that you now need to rethink
No.
indoor
Well,
events?
but then you just don't do events. No, I can't do that. I have to. It is what it is. We have to do it. The room was very, very secure. You know, he charged from 50 yards away, so he was very far away from the room.
And what did you think when you saw the video of how fast he was running?
He was moving. He was really moving. And the reaction time was great. Boy, those guys, they had their guns drawn literally by the time he was there. They were shooting.
That's right.
I thought they were very impressive. And if I didn't, I'd let you know. You know, I'm not going to be, I would not stand for that. No, I thought they were very impressive.
President Trump, thank you, President Trump, and thank you for updating us on the
Thank you.
suspect earlier. Were you aware of any threats? Was your team aware of any threats beforehand? And do you believe you were the target of this tonight?
I guess. I mean, these people they're crazy. They're crazy. And, you know, you never know. He was very far away from me. He had to go through a lot. We had resources all over. We had resources sitting at tables, literally in disguise, sitting maybe at your table, who knows? But we had people all over the room, so he had a long way to go. That was really a first line of defense, and they got him. And they really, they acted incredibly. No, we've had no. There was no notification. We had no idea. Go ahead,
Do you know
Kevin.
any political motivations from this?
Well, you never know.
suspect?
Now, we'll be able to tell you that maybe by tomorrow or the next day. He's in custody, and they're asking him a lot of questions. I guess they're going over, Todd, and they're already at his apartment. He lives in California.
Yes, sir.
And they're over there, so they'll be able to tell you. Thank you, Caitlin.
President Trump, did the suspect say anything, or was he wearing anything that would allege some type of motive here?
No, I mean, he was a guy who looked pretty evil when he was down. They had him down. He was fighting hard. He was in my opinion, a sick person. Who would do that but a sick person? But I think you're going to find everything about him. No reason to talk about it now. But tomorrow at this time, long before this time, you're going to know a lot of things about him. They seem to think he was a lone wolf, and I feel that too.
Are you concerned about U.S. Secret Service protection ability? We saw several of the detainees take minutes to be escorted out the room.
No, they acted very quickly. No, I was very impressed by Secret Service. I mean, I'm the one, and Mark Wayne, you would agree with that, I think.
Absolutely.
I'm the one that would complain. You don't have to complain for me. I would be complaining. I'd be up here right now saying they didn't do their job. Oh, believe me, because, it's my life, and I want to live because I want to make this country great. That's why I want to live. But when you're impactful, they go after you. When you're not impactful, they leave you alone. Okay, a couple of more. Go ahead, please.
Is there any indication that this shooting could have been linked to the war in Iran?
I don't think so, but you never know. We're going to know a lot. We have the best people in the world working on it, and we're going to know a lot. Please.
Mr. President, there's a lot. You, as well as some of us who have covered Butler, experienced another horrific day 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What felt similar? You had the First Lady with you today. What felt different? And you have another 2+ years in office. Are you concerned about something like this happening
Well, I
again?
can't be concerned. I can only get great people. They did the job, in my opinion, a much better job than Butler. Butler had one weak spot that we all know about. Somebody should have been up there. But even Butler, we had our sniper on our side within 4.2 seconds from a distance of about 400 yards, one shot, and he was gone. And if he didn't do it, now, he's David. His name was David. I say, hello, David, every time I see him. David, I like you very much, David. But think of that. Now, if he doesn't hit him, and he hit him right between the eyes from 400 yards without any notice, nobody knew. He heard a sound. He looked over, and there was actually a tree that was somewhat in his way. You know the story very well. And he aimed, he fired, and if he didn't do that, beyond me, you would have had a lot more people killed. We lost one great person and 2 people very badly hurt. They're okay now. But no, that was, so in a sense, it was pretty amazing the job they did. But they did have that one weak spot, as you know. They should have had that covered. Tonight they had everything covered very quickly, and he was fast. He was running full blast, and they got him before they got any further. I was very far away. He hadn't anywhere close to breach the doors of the ballroom. The ballroom was sealed, and everybody in there. That's why once those doors opened, they didn't want to do tonight. If the doors weren't opened, we could have probably done it tonight, but I think we're much better off rescheduling. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, for you and perhaps law enforcement as well, what is the level of confidence that this was a lone actor, and has the suspect made any statements to police while in custody?
Yeah, I think it's just it's not my profession. We have great professionals up here and outside that have been working with us. My impression is he was a lone wolf, whack job. These are crazy people. And they have to be dealt with. We had that in the second attempt, as you know, and he's spending life in prison. Because if you let him out, they'll probably, if he serves 10 years or 15 years, you let him out, he'll probably try it again with somebody else. They're sick people. We have a lot of sick people. But you're going to know, I think very shortly, you're going to know, Todd, A lot about him. You're going to know a lot about him. Yeah, a couple of more. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Are you concerned about political violence? This could be politically
All
motivated.
violence. I'm concerned about everything. Look, but I can't be so concerned that you can't function. No, I'm here. It's a dangerous profession. You know, I tell the story, race car drivers, I think it's very dangerous. So if you take 1% and then take about 10% of 1%, just to break it down very easily, they die. So much less than 1%, 10% of 1%. I think bull riding is very dangerous. If you take about the same, 10% of 1%, much less than 1%. But if you take presidents, it's 5.8%. And about 8% are shot at. So nobody told me this was such a dangerous profession. If Marco would have told me, maybe I wouldn't have run. Maybe I would have said, I'll take a pass. No, it's a dangerous profession, but I don't view it that way. Look, I'm here to do a job. It's part of the job. It is a dangerous, I can't imagine that there's any profession that's more dangerous. But I love the country, and I'm very proud. I'm very proud of the job we've done. You see what's happened. We have a great country. We've got, I think, the most successful, the hottest country anywhere in the world. This happened over a period of just a year, and we're going to do great things. But with that come risks. There's no question about it. Yeah.
To that end, I mean, there's been so much political violence, not just aimed at yourself, but at other members of Congress, state house speakers, you name it. Is that just the cost of doing business to do politics in America anymore?
Yeah, well,
what does that say about our country?
Too. You know, we're not the only country. You look at this great violence with all countries. I was talking to somebody from another country today, and they have numerous assassinations of political figures all over the world. You look at South America, it's like some of the numbers are just horrific. It's dangerous. It's dangerous stuff, whether it's here or someplace else. No country is immune. No country. Good question.
Is it possible to turn that temperature down at this point?
Well, probably if I decided to just not do much, you know, if I let everybody rip us off and take advantage of us. Look, we're leading the world in trade now. We're leading the world in the military. We're the greatest military in the world. I rebuilt it in my first term, and now we use it because we have no choice. We can't let, as an example, Iran, we can't let them get a nuclear weapon. Everything will be peanuts compared to that if they ever were given a nuclear weapon, and they'd use it too. Marco and I were talking about it today. They would use it without even hesitation. We can't do that. It was a shame. I said, oh boy, look at the numbers. We just broke 50,000 in the Dow. We just broke 7,000 in the S&P. They said we couldn't do it in 7 years, in 5 years, 4 years. They were saying maybe in 5 or 6 years. And we did it in 1 year. And I called everybody together. I called all of these people and others, and I said, we have to take a little journey. I see to do this. We just had the great number. We just broke 50,000. Wasn't supposed to happen during my term. Wasn't reachable. We did it in 1 year, and I said, we're going to have to make a journey to Iran. They're going to have a nuclear weapon if we don't do it. We had the B-2 bombers take them out. I terminated in the first term the Obama agreement, the Iran nuclear agreement, which was a disaster. That was a road to a nuclear weapon. They would have used it. They would have used it 100%. So, you know, when you do things like that, you become a target. If I wasn't doing that, I guess I'd be a lot less of a target. But I'm honored to be. Okay, one more question. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. Thank you, President Trump. Do you know how the gun was brought into the hotel? And also, how does this event impact you as the leader of our country? Do you think it will change your
I
leadership?
like not to think about it. I lead a pretty normal life, considering, you know, it's a dangerous life. I think I handle it as well as it can be handled. I think a lot of other people, you know, you read stories where they become basket cases. To be honest with you, I'm not a basket case. I really take it as it is. I do it for the country. I'm not doing it for any other reason. I have a first lady who's doing a terrific job. She loves the country, and she recognizes it better than anybody. She's told me numerous times. She said, you are in a dangerous job. But that goes along with her, too. I mean, it's dangerous for her, too. We sat there tonight. We heard that noise, and it was either a tray or a bullet. I I was hoping it was a tray, but it wasn't. And again, we had some very brave people doing a great job, so we're very proud of them and happy with them. I just want to thank everybody. They will be able to give you all that information as to the names and everything else. I think we released the names already. Most of you would have it, but his name. We appreciate it. I see so many tuxedos and beautiful dresses. It was a little different evening than we thought, but we're going to do it again, and we have a great chairman who we're so proud of, and we have to make it better. We'll make it safer, I guess, right? But we're going to make it even better. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
President Trump, can we hear from the first lady who talked about how impactful this was? Can we hear from her about?
Well, honey, would you want to say something?
Okay.
Huh?
One in the back,
Right.
So millions of people across the globe, in fact, are watching you. You demonstrated courageous leadership, and thank God you're alive. All of us are alive today. What is the message that you want to give to the world that this should change? What corrective measures can we take from here on?
Well, all you can do, look, I don't care how many people you have, how good they are. They can be the greatest people. You have the greatest security in history. If you have a whack job who's got a brain, but it's a little bit distorted or a lot distorted, they can make trouble. I would say, Pete, right? You know, they can make trouble. Some of these people are of genius level IQ, and they're nuts. So it can be trouble. So you do absolutely the best. You get the best. We have the best people. Well, look, it was proven tonight. He started running from 50 yards, and he was fast. He was like a blur on tape. He was moving. It was very impressive the way they got him, because a lot of people would be looking and saying, you know, it's like a weird feeling, and they would let him get through, but they didn't let him get through. They drew those guns so fast. They looked like Matt Dillon. They looked like somebody that knew what they were doing. What do we do? But it comes with the territory. And if you want to do a great job, I really believe that. And you take a look at what's happened to some of our greatest presidents, and it doesn't happen to people that don't do anything. And it's not going to deter me from winning the war in Iran. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I really don't think so, based on what we know. But we're going to continue to do a great job. That's all I can do. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, that was the U.S. president saying you can have the greatest security. Some people, the best people, can make trouble. Now, this is U.S. president addressing the media after a incident that took place in Washington Hill at the White House Correspondents Association gala dinner. Now, we heard him say about this man who was apprehended with multiple weapons. Donald Trump also said that he called him a thug who attacked the Constitution, addressing the media along with the FBI Director Akash Patel and U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche. Now, what we've heard from Donald Trump said that the Secret Service did a great job. He also told about the one officer who was shot with a powerful gun, and he was wearing a bulletproof vest. These are information coming in from Donald Trump, who informed about the incident that happened just about hours ago. All right, we have some breaking news coming in. U.S. President Donald Trump has shared a picture of the shooter at White House Correspondents' dinner. Addressing the media earlier, he said he's from California and went on to call him a sick man. He also said that he fought pretty hard. Akash Patel, the director of the FBI, who also addressed the media, has said that he was the lone actor in the incident. This is what Trump has also said. You know, when he was taking questions from the press, he talked about how this event will be rescheduled. He wanted to go ahead with the briefing, but law enforcement told them that they have to evacuate. Now we have some reaction coming in. Let's first hear this out.
The man has been captured. They're going to his apartment. I guess he lives in California. And he's a sick person, a very sick person.
All right, well, that was U.S. President Donald Trump saying he was a sick person. This man, that the images that you see on your screens are the images that were posted by President Donald Trump himself. He also said that this person, this man, is supposedly from California. Now, of course, Donald Trump also talked about the Secret Service, who did the great job after securing the president and moving him out of the building. He also talked about how it is not a secure building. This is what a comment came from Trump talking about this ballroom. And we talked about how he's also talked about the levels of security that he says is needed. He said that we need levels of security no one has seen before. He talked about the courage of law enforcement, and he also talked about speaking to mayor, who has now confirmed all of the details from the incident. And we have more information coming in. President Donald Trump has released the CCTV footage of the alleged shooter at the White House Correspondents' dinner. Now, this is the visuals that you see on the screens of this man rushing in at a very great speed, as described by President Donald Trump himself. And we have all of the members of the security service with their guns out. Now, this is the CCTV footage which was released by Donald Trump on about this shooter who allegedly ran from this area, where we can see security agents with their guns out and police and security service that Donald Trump has talked about as being have done a great job, as he described them. All right, to get us more details, our correspondent Susan is joining us. Susan, we have heard Trump talk about he's briefed about this man who apparently is from California. We heard Todd Blanche. We also heard FBI Director Kash Patel. What are the major points that you have picked up from this briefing?
Well, President Trump tried to downplay how close the shooter was from him. He said the shooter did not get anywhere close to him and did not breach the doorway into the main ballroom. As anticipated, the mood in that press conference was somewhat of shock. It was somewhat somber, but I think the media and the president and the administration, it was a rare sight to see that they portrayed a united front against what happened tonight. He did mention that this individual is from California. It appears it's a 31-year-old individual, and according to law enforcement officials at this point, we are getting some names online. We're going to verify those and then get them to you on who this individual is. President Trump was very keen on saying that the Secret Service, in his opinion, did a better job at the Washington Hilton than they did in Butler, Pennsylvania, where President Trump was shot in the ear. He also said, brushing off, comments about how he feels, he said, quote unquote, it's a dangerous profession. When he was asked whether or not he was concerned about the threats against his life. But Trump said that he did not want to live his life in fear, and he joked that he might have not run for president if Marco Rubio, his Secretary of State, had told him about the risk of violence. What was noteworthy, again, that was different from previous press conferences, was that the First Lady, Melania Trump, was standing next to the president a few feet away. Of course, she declined to answer any questions from the press in that room. But I think, the main message that he wanted to point out to ultimately was one of unity, saying that the political differences in this country cannot be handled with violence. He also mentioned that this event will continue, perhaps very
at the Washington Hilton at the site of the White House Correspondents' dinner. At about that time, a sole gunman rushed a Secret Service checkpoint in a lobby at the hotel. Secret Service agents stopped the suspect. An agent was injured and transported to a local hospital where the agent is receiving care. The suspect is also transported to a local hospital where he is being evaluated. The president returned safely to the White House, as you know. We are so very thankful to members of law enforcement who did their jobs tonight and made sure that all guests were safe. We have no reason to believe at this time that anyone else was involved. I want to turn to the Chief of the Metropolitan Police Department, Chief Carroll, to provide a law enforcement update and specifics.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, I'm Jeff Carroll, Interim Chief of Police for the Metropolitan Police Department. This afternoon, this evening, members of the United States Secret Service and the Metropolitan Police Department were here at the Washington Hotel for a site detail for the Correspondents Dinner. As the Mayor mentioned, at approximately 8:36 tonight, an individual charged a U.S. Secret Service checkpoint here in the lobby area of the hotel. He was armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives. As he ran through that checkpoint, members of law enforcement from the United States Secret Service intercepted that individual. This is a very preliminary investigation at this point. We do know that law enforcement exchanged gunfire with the individual. We do know that a U.S. Secret Service uniformed division officer was struck in his vest. He was transported to a local hospital for treatment. He seems to be in good spirits at this time. The suspect in this case, he was not struck by gunfire. However, he was transported to a local hospital to be evaluated. Again, we're very early in the investigation. We have members of the United States Secret Service, the Metropolitan Police Department, and the FBI here to continue to investigate this matter. But at this point, it does appear he is a lone actor, a lone gunman. There does not appear to be any sort of danger to the public at this time. However, we are continuing to investigate this matter. At this point, I will turn it over to, I believe, the FBI.
Hi, good evening. I'm Darren Cox. I'm the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI's Washington Field Office. The American public should be proud of the quick response and heroic actions from law enforcement officers tonight to keep the American public safe. Their actions are absolutely heroic. The public should also rest assured that there will be no stone unturned during this investigation. The FBI currently has our Joint Terrorism Task Force here on scene, along with our Criminal Division, our Crisis Response Team, and agents from across the country are working on any leads that may come in this investigation. Anyone with tips in this investigation should call 1-800-CALL-FBI. Thank you.
Director Kern.
Thank you. My name is Sean Kern, I'm the Director of the Secret Service. Tonight, we saw exactly what our brave men and women do each and every day to protect our protectees. It's not easy, and I will tell you that they performed admirably. We got to see what they do, and that individual, when he charged a checkpoint, was apprehended. It shows that our multi-layered protection works, and I'm grateful to our partners that help assist us with building these sites and protecting these sites. Very fortunate that this officer is alive, is being observed, and I'm grateful that the President reached out to this officer and spoke with him earlier. I ask everybody to pray for him and all of our officers and agents that were involved, and I will tell you, we will continue with the mission. Thank you.
Thank you. Judge Pirro.
I'm Janine Pirro. I'm the United States Attorney. Right now, the defendant is being charged with 2 counts, 924C, using a firearm during a crime of violence, and a second crime under 111, which is assault on a federal officer using a dangerous weapon. Now, as you all know, there was an individual, a uniformed Secret Service officer, who was shot. And fortunately, he is doing all right and he will be fine. But it is clear, based upon what we know so far, that this individual was intent on doing as much harm and as much damage as he could. And thankfully, because of the checkpoint right outside the ballroom, where thousands of people were situated to hear the President of the United States, because that checkpoint worked, there was no one who was injured when it was clear where this defendant was going. Now, I want to make one comment. As a participant, someone who was in the ballroom, who came this evening to be part of a very lovely event at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I, for the first time, was in a situation where there were shots fired, shots heard, and a whole room went silent. When I lifted my head and when I looked up, every law enforcement officer was out there as we all had our heads down, thousands of them. These are the men and women every day who do what they do silently, and they do it with courage and with dignity. Thank God for our partners, the FBI, the Secret Service, the Metropolitan Police. All of them tonight acted so quickly that they prevented what could have been a horrific event where we were all sitting there in one room. The defendant will be arraigned on Monday in federal district court, but make no mistake, there will be many more charges based upon the information that we are learning in this very fluid situation. Thank you.
Take a few questions. Right here in the front, right here in the front.
Confirm that this suspect is specifically targeting the president, and is he talking to law enforcement now?
Sure. So at this point, what we know is we know the individual charged a checkpoint with a firearm in his hand. We know he was running in the direction of the ballroom that the president was in, as well as other cabinet members. So what his specific motivation was, we can't say at this point. However, as we continue to investigate that, we'll continue to work towards that.
Chief, when you say talking to law enforcement,
there seems to have been a lack of authorization to come to this event. Was this a failure on the Secret Service?
What we have here is a multi-layered approach. The director spoke about it. We have officers on the outside from the Metropolitan Police Department along with the escort. The inside portion of any presidential site is handled by the Secret Service and law enforcement partners. This is a multi-layered approach. The point of this checkpoint is to intercept individuals that were there, and what we see in this case is when he reached that checkpoint, Secret Service agents and law enforcement engaged him immediately. They were able to bring him into custody and prevent anyone from being harmed.
Right here.
Chief Carroll, can you tell us if you found a vehicle associated with the suspect? And are you or the FBI conducting any search warrants either on a vehicle or locations here or elsewhere around the country?
Sure, Mark. So as you can imagine, this is very early in the investigation. So, things we're digging into is his background, vehicles. Those are all things that the FBI, the Metropolitan Police Department, and the Secret Service are working together jointly to determine, is there anything else that's available? So I would imagine as we continue to go through this investigation, there will be additional search warrants and things of that nature as the investigation progresses.
Is the suspect known to law enforcement?
At this point, he was not known to the Metropolitan Police Department, I can tell you that.
Right here.
There are multiple other parties and events happening associated with this weekend tonight. Is there any reason to believe that there will be security concerns at those events? Are there preparations being made locally to protect those attendees?
Yeah, absolutely not. So we have no indication. This is an isolated incident with one individual is the information that we do have. However, we do have additional officers across the city that are giving special attention. We do know there were some after parties and events that are planned that we will be providing coverage for those events.
Yep.
The president said that this is not a particularly secure building. Do you agree with that assessment?
I'm not exactly 100% familiar with this building. I do know in this incident tonight, I know there was a security plan that was developed by the Secret Service that the Metropolitan Police Department assisted with, and I know that security plan did work this evening.
Right here.
Thank you so much. You know specifically if President Trump was a target of this attack, and can you speak to the reporting about the suspect assembling a long weapon to get into the ballroom? Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, so as we said before, we do know the president was inside the ballroom. We know there was cabinet members and many guests in there. Who specifically he was targeting at this point, that's part of the investigation. We do know that he was armed with a shotgun when he ran through that checkpoint, so that would look like a long weapon in video.
All right, right here.
Earlier you said there was an exchange of gunfire. Did the suspect fire any shots, and did the uniformed officer, do you know yet which weapon he was shot?
Yeah, obviously we're only a couple hours into this incident, so we don't have that level of information. The FBI's evidence response team is here. They're processing the scene. So as the investigation develops, all that information will be figured out with the ballistics. The ATF is also on scene here with us.
So the suspect did or did not fire a shot?
Sure. So again, it's very preliminary information. We do believe he did. However, as the investigation determines, we'll pull the shell casings. We'll be able to get more information as we review more evidence. We're very early in the investigation.
All right, we can take a couple more right here, and one more over here.
Thank you so much. So the president said that he wants there to be another event within 30 days.
given what happened tonight, do you have any sense of what additional security measures might be put in place to ensure that something similar does not happen again?
Sure, I'll toss it to the Secret Service.
Yep, this is what we plan for every day. So we take each and every case and we evaluate it, and we do site assessment.
All right, what we saw was the addressal by the Director of Secret Service, the Police Department, U.S. Attorney, as well as the FBI addressing on the incident, what has happened. What we know about the suspect is that the suspect seems to be from California. He was a lone actor, as every member of the security services and the FBI have been saying, that it was a lone actor from California. The images were also posted by Trump of this suspected man who is now in hospital and is being evaluated, as the Secret Service members have been saying. For more information, we'll go to our correspondent, Susan Derani, who's joining us right now. Susan, we've heard from Trump, we've heard from the FBI director, and we've also heard from these servicemen as well. So what have you been catching up in the latest?
Right. We are getting some reaction from the New York mayor, Mamdani. He put out a post saying that he's aware of what happened and violence has no place in American politics. Also, considering the fact that this individual is allegedly from California Governor Gavin Newsom, who was at one of the pre-parties at least and was expected to attend the White House Correspondents Association dinner, he put out a statement as well saying that he's happy and relieved that everyone is safe and that, again, violence has no place. So really seeing a unified message on that front. I do want to say that Jeanine Pirro, the D.C. U.S. attorney who just spoke as well, said the suspect was being charged with 2 counts as of yet, and these counts may increase as they get more information. For now, he's being charged with using a firearm during a crime of violence and also assault on a federal officer using a dangerous weapon. She said that the defendant would be arraigned on Monday in federal court and that she expected more charges, as I mentioned, to follow.
Right, and we also know that this man who is the suspect, who is now in hospital for evaluation, is from California. What are the other details that we know about this man? And we know that at least a picture and the CCTV footage that was posted by Trump. What else do we know about this man from California?
There are unverified reports of some names on the New York Times website and also from individuals from the New York Post are naming him, but we haven't had an official confirmation about this individual's name and his profession. Like I said, there's a lot of information floating online, but also they were very adamant and confident in saying that it appeared that he was a lone actor. They're inspecting his vehicle. There are Secret Service and also law enforcement going to his place of residence. The Chief Carroll, the basically U.S. Secret Service director, she also said that authorities believe that the suspect was a guest at the hotel. And he said that the security plan for the dinner was established by the Secret Service, and they believe that, the security plan worked the way it should.
And that's very interesting because we know that this man was able to, if he was a guest, of course, he was able to make it in close proximity to the ballroom where the President of the United States was present. What we know about the suspect is he's in hospital for evaluation. Susan, of course, will be coming back to you as and when we get more updates on that. And for the people just joining in, what we know about the suspect is the suspect seems to be from California. Names have been floating, and we'll be confirming and bringing that to you and more information on the incident, and we'll get you the latest. And of course, we'll be bringing you all the latest on this incident and more on the other side of a very short break, so stay tuned.
Get the latest updates.
Destroy their
breaking
missiles
news.
And raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is one.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at yowan.com.
The Char Dham Yatra, Yamunotri, Gangotri, Kedarnath and Badrinath is now fully open. Sri Lanka marks 7 years since Easter attacks. Painful wait for justice and accountability continues to weigh on the lives of the survivors and their families. Merciless bombings along the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan and displacement is creating an educational crisis in the country. All this and much more with me, Kripa, on Inside South Asia.
Iconic stories and characters make a comeback. It's a wave of nostalgia on eClub. Know all about the style and buzz around the Devil Wears Prada too. Plus, fasten your seatbelt and get ready for takeoff with Top Gun 3.
I was curious to learn more about it.
And join us for an exclusive chat with Jim Serb. All this and much more with me, Rhythm Sharma, on WION eClub at these times.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
5 states, 1 powerful voice. From Tamil Nadu to West Bengal. Kerala to Assam. Every vote shapes the future. Get the election pulse only on WION. In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION, World is One.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. I'm Shivan John. Now, let's start with the headlines.
The man has been captured. They're going to his apartment. I guess he lives in California, and he's a sick person, a very sick person.
Donald Trump believes the suspected shooter who stormed the White House Correspondents' dinner was a lone wolf. Hailing from California, and raids are in place. The media on the White House Correspondents' dinner shooting said the incident would not deter him from winning the Iran war, while adding he does not believe it was linked. Trump releases CCTV footage of the alleged shooter at the Washington Hilton. Security forces seen in action in the visuals. Washington police chief says gala shooting suspect to be arraigned on Monday on firearms and assault charges, with more charges to be filed soon. One Secret Service agent injured after the gunman opened fire, said to be in stable condition. Bitcoin is extending a quiet but steady rally, climbing back towards the $80,000 mark for the first time since January, and the move is being driven by strong ETF inflows and continued institutional buying, even as traders position for further upside momentum. And Donald Trump has said that the shooting suspect behind the shooting at the White House press dinner was a would-be assassin armed with multiple weapons, and that has also been corroborated by the Metropolitan Police Department. Now, addressing the press at the White House after the shooting incident, Trump said that the suspect is from California and is currently being questioned. He's been detained, has been captured, is currently in the hospital as further details came in. When asked if he feels he was the target of the shooting, this is what the US president said: "I guess." However, when asked if he feels the shooting was linked to the Iran war, Trump said, "I don't think so." Listen to this.
The man has been captured. They're going to his apartment. I guess he lives in California, and he's a sick person, a very sick person.
This comes after Trump and other senior officials were evacuated from the White House Correspondents' dinner after loud bangs were heard at the event. This is the exact moment when the loud shots were heard. Trump's security team can be seen evacuating Trump from the dais. Vice President J.D. Vance and members of Trump's cabinet, who were also in attendance, were also rushed out. According to the Associated Press, the security incident took place outside of the room where Donald Trump and other officials were attending the dinner. Now, and as more details emerge about the shooter, as per Trump, this is what the US president said, that the shooter was armed with multiple weapons, including a shotgun, handgun and multiple knives. And these are facts that have been shared by the Metropolitan Police Department, the FBI and the Secret Service. More details that came in. He is a 31-year-old resident from California, and raids are currently underway at his place. This is what the US president mentioned regarding the raids. His age has also been mentioned, and according to DC Police Chief, the suspect has been taken to hospital for initial evaluations. No shots were fired at the suspect. He has been detained. US President Donald Trump shared this image that you see on the screen. There was no caption that he shared with this image. This is all that was put out. And addressing the media just moments earlier, he called him a sick man, calling the shooter a sick man. He also said that he fought pretty hard. And then the FBI director, Kash Patel, who also addressed the media after the US president, said that he was the lone actor in this incident. All right, I'll now cut across back to my colleague Susan, who's been tracking all the details as they're coming in. Susan, a lot has now come to light regarding who this shooter possibly is, hailing from California. That's what we know so far. The age group is what we know. And Donald Trump did not miss that chance to mention that, these are people from California. California, as we understand, is a Democratic state, led by the Democrats, that is. And what we also learn is that the suspect was armed with multiple weapons. There was a handgun, there was a shotgun, multiple knives. Seems to have been a bigger plan in mind. He was chasing and really pacing down the corridor, heading right into that ballroom. He was apprehended at a checkpoint. What more do we know? All right, we'll try to reconnect with Susan there. Susan, my colleague who's joining me from New York, will reconnect and get more details. What we know so far, I'll quickly go over the press briefing and the details that came out of it. Donald Trump mentioned that one officer was shot. The officer was shot by the suspect, who hails from California. And he was shot with a powerful gun, but the Secret Service agent who was shot at was wearing a bulletproof vest, and the officer is safe. And Donald Trump did not miss any chance at applauding and also hailing the Secret Service agents and the officials who held their own and ensured everyone remained safe. I'll now go back to Susan. Susan, if you can hear me, I wanted to get more details and just understand how you've assessed all the details that have been shared by the US President and the Metropolitan Police Department, the FBI and the Secret Service, all coming and giving more details about the shooter. Over to you, Susan.
So the D.C. U.S. Attorney, Siobhan, her name is Janine Pirro, said that the suspect has been apprehended. He is in hospital and was being charged with 2 counts, using a firearm during a crime of violence and assault on a federal officer using a dangerous weapon. Pirro said that the defendant would be arraigned on Monday in federal court and that she expected more charges to follow. We also heard from the police chief that said the president had spoken to the U.S. service member, the agent who had been shot at, and that he's in stable condition. He also said, the police chief, that the individual charged at that Secret Service checkpoint, he was, as you mentioned, armed with a shotgun, handgun, and multiple knives. But we're also learning that he was a guest at that hotel. We now know that the suspect had not been struck by gunfire, but despite that, he was transported to a hospital to be evaluated. But a Secret Service agent, of course, was shot and taken to hospital. He's in good spirits now. So we're learning about this individual that the president said is from California. He seems to be in his early 30s. And, coming from California Governor Gavin Newsom put out a statement not only expressing concern, but also relief that everyone is safe. Even Mayor Mamdani of New York went on social media and said that he's aware of what happened and that violence has no place in today's politics. You really see a growing concern about this political division in this country and how much it has caused violence, notably towards the president and his party. The president and also the Secret Service mentioned that while there is that assumption that the president was the target because there were so many members of his cabinet and other individuals in that ballroom, thousands, it's not clear who the main target was. While it's, again, allegedly it was the President of the United States, but we don't know that, and we're going to get more information from law enforcement and those that are questioning this suspect on what his motives were, who his target was, and also really more information about how he managed to get so close to such a high-profile event.
Absolutely, Susan, and that's the big question here. There have been some questions that have been posed to the law enforcement officials who also took the dais gradually in that press conference later, mentioning about the security protocol. The Metropolitan Police Department mentioned that this entire security apparatus was devised by the Secret Service, and he mentioned that it was very much positive in its response, and it was able to ensure that everyone remains safe. While that is a fact, this is also a fact that that shooter, the possible shooter and the suspect, that means he was able to make his way near the ballroom. And this is where the US president and the entire cabinet is situated. I'll quickly just go over this one line which stood out for me, and I'll come to you, Susan, for an assessment on that. Donald Trump mentioned that it is not a secure building. And we're talking about the Washington Hilton here, where the event was taking place. He said that this is why we need to have a ballroom at the White House. He's mentioning that this is not a secure building. Is that an admission of the lapse in security? How do you see it? I'm currently speaking with our US correspondent, Susan. Susan, over to you.
So in terms of security, it's never going to be as secure as a ballroom at the White House. That part is correct. But at least judging from the president's own comments, he also mentioned that he thought the Secret Service did a better job at this venue rather than Butler, Pennsylvania, which was an outdoor venue where he was actually shot in the ear by an assassin. And let's not forget, there was another individual who tried to assassinate him at his golf course, which was also an outdoor area. But nonetheless, I think it's valid to say that, you have a hotel in the middle of Washington, D.C. at such tumultuous times, not to mention at a time when the Democrats have not agreed to fund the Department of Homeland Security. And so for the past 70 days, the Secret Service has not been paid. They are a victim of this partial government shutdown. Nonetheless, it's true that no one got hurt, but it's also true that at such a high-profile event with the president and his cabinet, at such tumultuous times, the lobby of that hotel was not secure enough where an individual can enter with 3 different kinds of weapons. I mean, you just can't underestimate that.
Absolutely. And when you see that footage, which has been shared by the US president, you will have it on the screen soon enough. You see the shooter, the suspect, darting past those Secret Service agents. And that's something Donald Trump also alluded to. He mentioned it, that he was really fast. You see him here. It's a blink and miss. He's really pacing past the service agents, and they all have their guns pointing at him. But you, even in the CCTV footage, can see him on the extreme left coming in. Have a look at this again. There he comes. It's in less than a second that he goes past all of them. Now, the fact that he's gone past at least 10 agents that you can see, or more than that, right here, and gets cornered or gets caught and arrested at a checkpoint little later, and that's just before the ballroom. This is what Donald Trump also mentioned, and that was the entrance to the ballroom. There was also a first-hand account I was hearing from a different news publication. A senior producer of theirs was in attendance, mentioning that he heard gunshots right behind him and he was sitting very close to the door. Soon enough, the door was closed. At that time, we weren't sure where the gunshots were heard. Was it inside or outside the ballroom? But now, of course, we know it was right outside. He was perhaps just a few steps before entering that ballroom where the US president was sitting, and that's the visual of the ballroom where you see the US president and cabinet members sitting right at the end on the stage. Now, Susan, coming to that same point, when you talk about the security apparatus, we also discussed Pennsylvania Butler. Even at that time, there were a lot of reports that had come out in 2024 mentioning how a lot of onlookers had even pointed out that there is a shooter on the top of the building, and they were pointing it out to the security officials at hand, and there was still an incident thereafter. Here again, there is a question that is getting raised. While there is a lot of praise for the security officials, when do you feel more questions are going to be raised again about how someone so heavily armed could make it so close to the ballroom?
Yeah, I mean, those questions are still being asked, just even as we're speaking right now, online in the virtual world, because I think that's just such a valid question that everyone's wondering that. But as you mentioned, these incidents also happen in a split second. So from the time that perhaps an individual sees it to the time that you try to secure someone like the President of the United States, there is going to be, even if not a few minutes, a few seconds, and those few seconds are so detrimental. But you know, I think it's also, again, really important to note that you're in a hotel in the middle of Washington, D.C., and you have your entire cabinet with you as the President of the United States, and then you have the members of the media, and then other individuals that have been a target as well. For example, Erica Kirk, who is the wife of the late conservative commentator Charlie Cook, was seen crying coming out of that building. You can imagine how she felt. She had to, for example, cancel an event just last week with J.D. Vance because her security team was concerned that there was an attempt against her life if she took that stage. So these situations are very sensitive, they're very fluid, and ultimately could come down to a human error. I mean, you can't deny that. Now, this individual had weapons, but some are wondering, you know, what would happen if he was able to get to that lobby and had explosive devices with him, or he wasn't a lone wolf. You know, these are all questions that need to be addressed, and I think while they are being asked virtually right now, at least behind the scenes, definitely I think the Secret Service will have to huddle to see how they can not only keep the president safe, but also the locations that he hopes to attend.
And I'll revert to the point that you made regarding the partial government shutdown, which we know is very much in place. It's been 70 days, and there are suggestions that the Secret Service perhaps has not been paid. Now, I'll just go over the statements that came in from the US President, came in from the FBI Director, and if you just go over all the statements that came in also from Todd Blanche, the US Attorney General, there were at least over nearly 12 to 15 instances where they would repeatedly mention what a great job the Secret Service did. One of the initial comments from Kash Patel was that the Secret Service agents and the security officials, they know Trump has their back, the US President has their back. Secret Service knows Donald Trump is behind them. What do you make of these kind of statements where 100% they were able to apprehend the shooter? Do you read anything more into it, given the fact that there is a partial government shutdown and that is impacting the Secret Service too?
The Department of Homeland Security hasn't been funded. That is outrageous, not only because something like this could happen, but it's also because we're in the middle of an active war with Iran right now. So while there is a ceasefire, you know, the situation is extremely sensitive, and to not have parts of the Department of Homeland Security not being funded when things like this could happen very easily is a question on everyone's mind. Now, I know that this incident just happened. We're just a few hours of something that was very stressful, traumatic, and while there is relief, but I think that that issue is going to be raised very soon on which directions ultimately, you know, the individuals, notably Democrats in Congress, want to take in just not only securing the president and his cabinet, but also, you know, the thousands of other people that could be present anytime these individuals go anywhere. So it is a very sensitive situation, and you know, they had to come out and present a unified stance because something like this just happened. But those questions are absolutely valid, and they're going to have to be asked as soon as maybe tomorrow or Monday.
We understand, of course, this is the US President we're talking about, and he mentioned that this is not the first time a Republican was attacked with pursuance to kill, and it happened in Pennsylvania, it happened in Florida, and now we have it in Washington, D.C. Maybe not in the same severity level, but 100% this was an attempt that was being made. It was foiled at the right time. But how do you see this one getting politicized very soon? Because that was a sense that you see him coming in when he talks about California, which is a blue state, and then he talks about, you know, when he mentions about Republicans getting shot. How soon do you think that's going to come to the fore? Because that is a reality we're going to see very soon, is what precedent tells us.
It's absolutely a reality, and I thought that he was very measured in his comments. I was surprised that he didn't bring up the issue of the Department of Homeland Security not being funded, but I think he understood that because the White House Correspondents Association dinner generally is viewed as sort of an event that brings Americans together and it's more unifying, and not everyday Americans. I mean, this is a very elite event. But, you know, it brings the members of the media together along with politicians of either party that's in power. I think he didn't see it fit right now to bring up those issues. But absolutely, I mean, he brought the issue of his ballroom to the forefront, which some can say is justifiable because a ballroom inside the White House would definitely be a lot more secure than, you know, a ballroom that you rent out in a hotel in the middle of Washington, D.C., where the security can have lapses ultimately. But I think it was important for him to stand behind Secret Service because he knew that those criticisms are going to come. And it was important for him to present the front that he did and have the First Lady stand next to him in the White House press briefing room just to show that, you know, at this point at least, everyone is American, everyone is on the same team. But yeah, those conversations are absolutely going to happen. And again, some of them are already happening online.
Susan, and I understand that we're hypothesizing at this point, but Donald Trump mentioned it at least on several occasions during his address, and there was also a statement that came in earlier mentioning that this dinner is going to be rescheduled after 30 days. The venue, or why 30 days? Anything more that comes to your mind or that you've picked up so far on where it can perhaps be held and why it is being rescheduled, how important it is, or why 30 days is needed to perhaps have the right setting for this dinner to be rescheduled?
Yeah, usually this is a venue that usually this event takes place at. One can, again, like you said, hypothesize that, you know, the president's schedule is going to be very busy in the next few weeks. Remember, you have King Charles coming to the United States with his wife Kamala, and then you have, other commitments that they have. But I would caution again. I would caution on the one hand against having this gathering at the Hilton, but again, then there's that sentiment where a lot of people believe that this event should happen, and a gunman shouldn't be able to stop if you just want to make it about freedom of speech and the First Amendment and the freedom of the press, that it's very important that this event goes on because of those values in America. But again, those values in one place, you have to make sure that the location is safe and secure. And where this will happen, is the ballroom going to be built by then? Does he plan to have this event at the White House? But then if he does have it at the White House, then it defeats the issue of neutrality between the press and the administration. So, logistics do matter at the end of the day, but perhaps he believes that, as in his own words, the show must go on, and something like this could happen in the next 30 days. Let's see.
Even tried that during this event as well. We'll need to wait and watch how this one goes. That was our U.S. correspondent, Susan, getting us the details. And just before we wind up, I'll quickly take you through the sequence of events that has happened in the last couple of hours. There was a White House Correspondents' dinner taking place at the Washington Hilton. We'll have the visuals for you. These were the visuals, and this is exactly after 5 shots were fired from a shotgun. Those were the shots that you heard. And immediately after that, you'll hear the security protocol moving towards the US president, who's sitting on the stage, and armed officials took the stage as the US president, First Lady Melania Trump, and several members from his cabinet, they were escorted out, they were evacuated. Here's the Secretary of War being evacuated with his security protocol. And then there were other members also leaving from the location. Initially, there were reports that the dinner will continue as scheduled, and the US president even mentions in his post immediately after this incident that he will return and give his address, but he was advised not to do so by the Secret Service. And this is Weijia Jiang from CBS News, who's the president of the White House Correspondents Association. This is a visual of the suspect pacing past security protocol as he moved towards the ballroom. This is a scene perhaps from outside the ballroom near the lobby. He was apprehended near the checkpoint. Here you see him pacing past, and he's armed with several weapons. And this is what the Metropolitan Police Department has now shared. He was armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives. This was an image which was then shared by the US President without a caption. And it's understood he's a lone wolf, so he is the suspect who hails from California. His residence is being raided. This is what the US President shared. And what we also learned from the US Attorney is that he has been taken to the hospital for an evaluation. There are charges against him for using a firearm and assault on a federal officer with a weapon, because the reports have suggested, and they have no longer reports, these are confirmed facts by the officials, that the suspect opened fire at a Secret Service agent. This is what the US President also shared, but the Secret Service agent had a bulletproof vest and is not in danger. These are the visuals and the updates that we have for you so far. We'll quickly slip into a short break. I'm Shivan Channa. This is WION World is One. Stay with us as we bring you all the details as they come.
Ladies and gentlemen, out. We gotta go.
The president will be having a press briefing at the White House in 30 minutes.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
Iconic stories and characters make a comeback. It's a wave of nostalgia on eClub. Know all about the style and buzz around the Devil Wears Prada too. Plus, fasten your seatbelt and get ready for takeoff with Top Gun 3.
I was curious to learn more about it.
And join us for an exclusive chat with Jim Sir. All this and much more with me, Rhythm Sharma, on WION eClub at these times.
The Char Dham Yatra, Yamunotri, Gangotri, Kedarnath and Badrinath is now fully open. Sri Lanka marks 7 years since Easter attacks. Painful wait for justice and accountability continues to weigh on the lives of the survivors and their families. Merciless bombings along the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan and displacement is creating an educational crisis in the country. All this and much more with me, Kripa, on Inside South Asia.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
Get the latest updates.
Destroy their
Breaking
missiles
news.
and raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One.
Hello and welcome back. You're watching WION World is One. I'm Jyotsna Kumar. Let's begin with the headlines.
Man charged a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons, and he was taken down by some very brave members of Secret Service, and they acted very quickly.
U.S. President Donald Trump says the suspect in the shooting at the White House Correspondents' dinner was armed with multiple weapons, charged through a security checkpoint before shots were fired. President Trump releases CCTV footage of the alleged shooter at the White House Washington Hilton. Security forces seen in action in the visuals. Washington police chief says gala shooting suspect to be arraigned on Monday on firearms assault charges. One Secret Service agent injured after gunman opened fire, said to be in stable condition. Bitcoin is extending a quiet but steady rally, climbing back towards the $80,000 mark for the first time since January. The move is being driven by strong ETF inflows and continued institutional buying, even as traders position for further upside momentum.
Donald J. Trump and First Lady Melania Trump.
See a man charged a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons.
Sound of shots fired. The Secret Service is now in charge.
Now, U.S. President Donald Trump has said that the shooting suspect at the White House press dinner gala was a would-be assassin armed with multiple weapons. Now, addressing the press at the White House after the shooting incident, Trump had said that the suspect is from California and is currently being questioned. When asked if he feels he was the target of the shooting, Trump said, and I'm quoting here, "I guess." However, when asked if he feels the shooting was linked to the Iran war, Trump said, "I don't think so." Let's listen in.
The man has been captured. They're going to his apartment. I guess he lives in California, and he's a sick person, a very sick person.
Now, this comes after Trump and other senior officials of the Trump administration were evacuated from the White House Correspondents' dinner after loud bangs were heard at the event. What you see on your screens are visuals of the exact moment when the loud shots were heard. U.S. President Trump's security team was then seen evacuating Trump from the dais. Vice President J.D. Vance and members of Trump's cabinet who were also in attendance were also rushed out. The security incident took place outside of the room where President Trump and other officials were attending the dinner. Well, more details are now emerging about the shooter now. According to Trump, the shooter was armed with multiple weapons, including shotgun, handgun, and knives. The picture that you see on your screen is the very picture that Trump had posted on Truth Social. He, according to reports, is a 31-year-old resident from California. And as of now, raids are currently underway at his place. According to D.C. Police Chief, the suspect has been taken to hospital for evaluations. The suspect will appear before a U.S. District Judge on Monday. According to U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, the suspect will be charged with using a firearm during a crime of violence and assault on a federal officer using a dangerous weapon. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump had also shared an image of the shooter. Addressing the media earlier, he had called him a sick man. He also said that he fought pretty hard. Now, Kash Patel, the director of FBI, who also addressed the media alongside Trump, said he was the lone actor in the incident. All right, to give us more details on this, my colleague Susan Tadani is now joining us. Susan, we've been tracking this since the incident came into light. We know that the shooter was armed with multiple guns, as Trump has also said. It looks like we know that this shooter will be arraigned on Monday. But it's interesting to see the footage that Trump had posted about the CCTV footage about this suspect running really fast. And the servicemen, of course, they have been praised by Trump alongside all of the officials from the Secret Service, the FBI, the police. Everyone has been praising the services, the security services. But it's interesting to see that this person, according to these very officials, that he was a guest at the hotel, but he was again armed with so many weapons, and he was able to make it past the security, even though he was running really fast, very near into proximity of this ballroom where the President Trump and all the very important highest officials were present.
Yeah, and also, he was armed with three kinds of weapons, 2 guns and a knife. And not only do questions now are going to arise, if he was at the hotel, how much information the hotel has on this individual, how he was able to get those weapons in that hotel. But also, President Trump said that he's a resident of California. That's across the country from Washington, D.C., very far away. How did he obtain those weapons? If he's a resident of California, did he manage to either drive cross-country or fly cross-country with these weapons? Did he purchase these weapons in Washington? These are all questions that need to be answered for the sake of not only preventing something like this from happening again, but to really see what the security situation was, that this individual was not only able to get so close to the president, his cabinet, and other guests, but how just in what manner, how lax was security, and what were the shortfalls regarding that.
Absolutely. And the fact that, all of this is happening, now what Trump had also said was that Melania Trump was one of the first persons to react and see that something was wrong. This is something that Trump has said himself, in the briefing that he did alongside, Melania was not seen, of course, in the briefing, but Trump had indicated that Melania Trump was the first one to suspect that there was something wrong.
Yeah, and, while Melania Trump didn't speak to the media, it was very noteworthy that she was also at the White House press briefing room alongside the president and some of his cabinet members during that press conference when the president was saying that. Melania Trump is said to be one of the people who has been most affected by these numerous assassination attempts against her husband, Donald Trump. Remember, he's the father of their only child, Barron, and she's expressed it outwardly and publicly that she's very concerned about the safety of not only the president, but her family in general.
And what do we know about this arraignment that would take place on Monday? What are the charges that have been so far told that will be charged, he'll be charged with?
So according to Janine Pirro, the D.C. U.S. attorney, she said that the suspect was being charged for now with 2 counts, the using of a firearm during a crime of violence and also assault on a federal officer using dangerous weapon. Remember, one Secret Service member was also shot. Pirro said that the defendant would be arraigned on Monday in federal court and that she actually expects more charges to follow after this.
Absolutely. What we also know is, of course, all the guests were evacuated, and then Trump has also announced that this event will be rescheduled after 30 days. What do we know about that?
Yeah, the president believes that this is a very important event. He coined it as a unifying event, unity not only between different political parties that attend this event, but also the media and his administration, which he praised as being very fair recently, and saying that he hopes that he enjoys a better working relationship with the media during his second term. Those were his words, of course, tonight after this incident happened. And he, I think, believes in those values of the First Amendment, the freedom of speech, the freedom of the press, and he wants those to be front and center, and for this incident not to be viewed as an incident that would sort of cancel not only these values, but an event like this, which would sort of indicate that, you know, that there's some kind of fear of an incident like this happening and undermining those values and events like these. So, you know, he's mentioned it before. He mentioned it after Butler when there was an attempt on his life. He said that, you know, the show must go on. We have to continue doing this. And if you remember, he continued with his outdoor campaigning as well, although security was a little tighter. But it's important to note that I think despite the fact that he said he doesn't know how his security situation is going to change right now, there's no doubt that the Secret Service and those that are tasked with protecting him are really reconsidering how to protect this president because just the numerous assassination attempts against his life at this point, this cannot be really understated.
Absolutely. As you said, Susan, of course, this seems to be an extremely important event that is taking place. And it raises a lot of questions about even security at this point. But just for the viewers to get to know about what has happened, let me just brief it out. So U.S. President Donald Trump, he said that the shooting suspect at the White House press dinner was a would-be assassin. He was armed with multiple weapons. This, of course, comes after Trump and along with First Lady Melania Trump and all the highest officials were at this Correspondents dinner where loud bangs were heard, and then the U.S. President Trump security team, they were seen evacuating Trump from the dais. Vice President J.D. Vance and members of Trump's cabinet were also in attendance, and they were also rushed out after the loud bangs that were heard. Another security incident, it took place outside the room where the president and other officials were attending this dinner. There are a lot of details that have been emerging, and according to Trump, the shooter was armed with multiple weapons, including shotgun, handgun, and knives. He's apparently a 31-year-old resident from California, and his place is the place where he belongs from, or his house is being raided. And what we know, according to the D.C. police chief, that the suspect has been taken to the hospital for more evaluations. The suspect will be charged with using a firearm during a crime of violence and assault on a federal officer using a dangerous weapon. He will be arraigned on Monday. Now, President Trump had shared the CCTV footage that you see on your screens of the suspect rushing in from the security. There's also the image of the shooter that was shared by President Donald Trump. And now we also have the visuals that you see on the other side is the suspect's home, where he belongs from in California. Apparently that place is being raided. These are live visuals coming in from, this is apparently the gate of the house of the suspect in California, which will be raided. About the suspect, he happens to be a 31-year-old resident from California, and raids are currently taking place in his house. According to Trump and a lot of officers, this man was a lone actor. As far as we know, he was alone. And as he, of course, the suspect has been taken to the hospital for evaluations, and he will be arraigned on Monday. Of course, the suspect will be charged with using a firearm during a crime of violence and assault on federal officer using a dangerous weapon. All right, we have some breaking news coming in. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has now reacted to the shooting at the White House Correspondents' dinner. He said, and I'm just quoting here, "Relieved to learn that President Trump, the First Lady and Vice President are safe and unharmed following the recent security incident at a Washington, D.C. hotel. I extend my best wishes for their continued safety and well-being. Violence has no place in a democracy and must be unequivocally condemned." Now, this is the message that the Indian Prime Minister has now come out with after this incident. He said that he is relieved to learn that President Trump, First Lady and Vice President are safe and unharmed following the recent security incidents. Now, reactions have been coming in from the U.S. and from across the world, including Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum as well. And of course, now the Indian Prime Minister, who has now reacted to the shooting that took place at White House Correspondents' dinner. Susan, I also remember Trump being asked about if he was the target. We remember Trump talking about how this shooting takes place in Latin America, in all these places, and we have, of course, Mexican president reacting to this shooting as well. It's interesting to see how he also mentions, these shooting that takes place in other Latin American countries as well.
Yeah, he said that it happens all over the world, and it doesn't mean that he has to stop what he's doing. He also said that, when you look at assassinations, and he said that he studies assassination attempts, he believes that it happens to people that are doing their best to do the most. So, not only in Latin America, but he also alluded to what happens here in the United States as well, with multiple assassination attempts on numerous presidents. Most recently, really, at the same hotel when former President Ronald Reagan back in the 1980s stepped out of this hotel and went to his limousine. So Latin America, Claudia Sheinbaum, understandably, Prime Minister Modi, of course, a good relationship with the president, put out this statement. But I think we're going to see more of these statements pouring in from world leaders as well.
Absolutely, Susan. Of course, we'll have to wait and see more details coming in of where the possible security lies, because we saw the suspect actually coming into the building and being a guest at this hotel, which is an interesting fact that with all these arms, he was still a guest. We're in a place where obviously such a big event was to take place. I'll be waiting for more details on that. Susan, thank you so much for joining us and giving us the details. We'll come back to you as and when we get more latest. All right, let's shift our focus to other news. U.S. President Donald Trump has called off the planned visit by U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner to Islamabad, saying the talks involved too much travel and expense, and Iran's latest peace offer was not good enough. While speaking to reporters, Trump said that he scrapped the visit after being unimpressed with Iran's proposal, while Trump added that the U.S. held all the cards, but the war would not resume immediately, and the two sides can deal over telephone.
You probably heard that we canceled the trip. We have all the cards. We're not going to spend 15 hours in airplanes all the time going back and forth to be giving a document that was not good enough. And so we'll deal by telephone, and they can call us anytime they want. Again, we have all the cards.
Further, the U.S. president said that Iran had sent a revised proposal within minutes of his decision. When asked what the proposal contained, Trump hinted that it was about Iran's nuclear weapons program.
Nothing. It's just that they gave us a paper that should have been better. And interestingly, immediately when I canceled it, within 10 minutes, we got a new paper that was much better. We talked about they will not have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. Look, that whole deal is not complicated. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple.
Meanwhile, in Pakistan, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi wrapped up a visit to Islamabad after meeting Pakistan's military chief Asim Munir, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar. Now, Araghchi described his Pakistan trip as very fruitful, but signaled skepticism over Washington's intentions. In a post on X, Araghchi said that he is yet to see if the U.S. is truly serious about diplomacy. From Islamabad, Araghchi went to the Omani capital, Muscat, where he met with officials from the Foreign Ministry and senior diplomats. Interestingly, Araghchi is slated to return to Islamabad from Muscat. A part of his delegation had returned to Tehran and is scheduled to join him in Islamabad upon his return. While talks between Washington and Tehran have remained stalled, with Iran blaming the U.S. for its naval blockade and has refused to negotiate under threat. Iran has also said that it maintains control over Strait of Hormuz. In the latest, the IRGC has said that it has no intention of lifting the blockade. While control over the Strait of Hormuz has emerged as one of the biggest sticking points in the talks, Iran's nuclear program and uranium enrichment, ballistic missile program, and sanctions relief are the other key issues which remain unresolved. The U.S. and Israeli bombing of Iran may have strengthened the case for nuclear weapons everywhere in the world. After Iran, every vulnerable state heard the same message. And now West Asia war may trigger a global nuclear race. We'll get to all the details in this next report. More news and updates will follow on the other side. You're watching WION World is One. Stay tuned.
A chilling warning from Rafael Grossi, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency. The world is drifting towards a nuclear breakpoint. Up to 20 countries could soon move towards building nuclear weapons. The Iran war has shattered whatever trust remained in global security guarantees. Countries are watching. And they are learning one thing: nuclear weapons may be the only real insurance. From East Asia to Europe, the shift is already visible. Japan, South Korea, Poland, Sweden, all are now openly debating whether they need the bomb. The very idea of breaking away from nuclear non-proliferation treaty, once unthinkable, is now being discussed in policy circles. The risks are already escalating. According to reports, North Korea's secretive nuclear program is accelerating. China is quietly expanding its arsenal at a steady pace. And in Syria, after the fall of the Assad regime, there are fears of missing nuclear material. Today, the world holds around 12,000 nuclear warheads. Nearly 90% are controlled by just two countries, the United States and Russia. But that balance is now under threat. Countries like Poland, Turkey and Saudi Arabia are signaling clearly. If alliances weaken, they may have no choice but to arm themselves. And the warning gets even darker. Nobel laureate David Gross says humanity may have just 35 years left, with nuclear war as the greatest threat, because the more nuclear states there are, the more complex the world becomes.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One.
You are watching a very special episode of Tech It Out. We're going to be talking about India's AI moment, hype, investment and reality.
AI boom has told us that if you're not innovative, you can't have a competitive edge.
Because it's not easy to counter these, giants who have been in this market for over decades.
We understand how to build great applications and solve real problems. And we're just using AI to do that. So that to me is our strength and we must bank on that.
AI is not going to take jobs. I think it will take jobs of those who don't adopt AI.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at WION.com.
Iconic stories and characters make a comeback. It's a wave of nostalgia on eClub. Know all about the style and buzz around the Devil Wears Prada too. Plus, fasten your seatbelt and get ready for takeoff with Top Gun 3.
I was curious to learn more about it.
And join us for an exclusive chat with Jim Serb. All this and much more with me, Rhythm Sharma, on WION eClub at these times.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
5 states, 1 powerful voice. From Tamil Nadu to West Bengal. Kerala to Assam. Every vote shapes the future. Get the election pulse only on WION. Get the latest updates.
Destroy their
Breaking
missiles
news.
and raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is one. Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
Vielleicht nur als 5%.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. I'm Shivan Chandna. Lots to discuss. Let's start with the headlines.
Man charged a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons, and he was taken down by some very brave members of Secret Service, and they acted very quickly.
US President says the suspect in the shooting at the White House Correspondents' dinner was armed with multiple weapons, charged through a security checkpoint before shots were fired. Donald Trump releases CCTV footage of the alleged shooter at the Washington Hilton. Security forces seen in action in the visuals as the shooter sprints past a dozen security agents. Washington police chief says gala shooting suspect to be arraigned on Monday on firearms and assault charges. One Secret Service agent injured after the gunman opened fire, said to be in stable condition. He was wearing a bulletproof vest. Bitcoin is extending a quiet but steady rally, climbing back towards the $80,000 mark for the first time since January. The move is being driven by strong ETF inflows and continued institutional buying, even as traders position for further upside momentum.
Donald J. Trump and First Lady Melania Trump.
A man charged a security checkpoint armed with multiple weapons.
The sound of shots fired. The Secret Service is now in charge.
US President Donald Trump has said that the shooting suspect at the White House press dinner was a would-be assassin armed with multiple weapons. Addressing the press at the White House after the shooting incident, Trump said that the suspect is from California and is currently being questioned. When asked if he feels he was the target of the shooting, this is what Trump said: "I guess." However, when asked if he feels the shooting was linked to the Iran war, Trump said, "I don't think so." Listen to this.
The man has been captured. They're going to his apartment. I guess he lives in California, and he's a sick person, a very sick person.
This comes after Trump and other senior officials were evacuated from the White House Correspondents' dinner taking place at the Washington Hilton after loud bangs were heard. 5 shots were heard from a shotgun. This is the exact moment now you'll see on your screens when this is what happened after the loud shots were heard. Trump's security team evacuated Trump from the dais. Vice President J.D. Vance was taken out from the other side, and members of Trump's cabinet who were also in attendance were rushed out. Well, the security incident took place outside the room where, this is the ballroom where President Trump and other officials were attending dinner. And as more details emerged about the shooter, what we now know is that the shooter was armed with multiple weapons, and that included a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives. That essentially means he was armed to the teeth for an individual. He's a 31-year-old resident from California, and reports are suggesting now that raids are taking place at his residence. According to DC Police Chief, the suspect has been taken to hospital for evaluations and will be presented in the district court on Monday. The suspect will appear on multiple charges of assault and weapons. According to the U.S. Attorney, Jeanine Pirro, the suspect will be charged with using a firearm during a crime of violence and assault on a federal officer using a dangerous weapon. Now, these are initial charges already levied on the suspect. More charges are going to be framed soon. U.S. President Donald Trump also shared an image of the shooter. There was no caption to this post. This was just an image which was shared where the suspect can be seen laid on the ground, arms behind his back. And addressing the media, Donald Trump called the shooter a sick man from California. He said that he fought pretty hard. And the FBI director, Kash Patel, also addressed the media and said that he was the lone actor in this incident. And Donald Trump has called off the planned visit by the U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner to Islamabad. This is for talks with the Iranian delegation, and Trump has said that the talks involved too much travel and expense, and Iran's latest peace offer was not good enough. Now any discussion will take place over phone calls. Speaking to reporters, Trump said that he scrapped the visit after being unimpressed with Tehran's proposal. Trump added that the U.S. held all the cards, but the war would not resume immediately. Just because Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are not going to Islamabad, that does not mean that the war will resume. And two sides can deal over the telephone now.
We heard that we canceled the trip. We have all the cards. We're not going to spend 15 hours in airplanes all the time going back and forth to be giving a document that was not good enough. And so we'll deal by telephone, and they can call us anytime they want. Again, we have all the cards.
Further, the U.S. president said that Iran had sent a revised proposal within minutes of his decision. When asked what the new proposal contained, Trump hinted that it was about Iran's nuclear weapons program.
Nothing. It's just that they gave us a paper that should have been better. And interestingly, immediately when I canceled it, within 10 minutes, we got a new paper that was much better. We talked about they will not have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. Look, that whole deal is not complicated. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple.
Meanwhile, in Pakistan, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi wrapped up a visit to Islamabad after meeting Pakistan's military chief Asim Munir, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar. Araghchi described his Pakistan trip as very fruitful but signaled skepticism over Washington's intentions. Araghchi said that he is yet to see if the US is truly serious about diplomacy. From Islamabad, Araghchi went on to the Omani capital, Muscat. In Oman, he met with officials from the foreign ministry and senior diplomats. Interestingly, Araghchi is slated to return to Islamabad from Muscat before he heads back. And a part of his delegation had returned to Tehran and is scheduled to join him again in Islamabad upon his return. Now, talks between Washington and Tehran have remained stalled, with Iran blaming the US for its naval blockade and has refused to negotiate under threat. Iran also says that it maintains control over the Strait of Hormuz. In the latest, the IRGC has said that it has no intention of lifting the blockade. Control over the Strait of Hormuz has emerged as one of the biggest sticking points in the talks. Iran's nuclear program and uranium enrichment, ballistic missile program and sanctions relief, they are the other key issues which remain unresolved, and now Strait of Hormuz is an added issue which seems to have become the biggest one. And despite an ongoing ceasefire, the fighting remains on between Israel and Iran-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon's south. Lebanon's state media has reported a series of new Israeli strikes in at least 4 different locations, and this is after Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu ordered his military to attack Hezbollah following alleged ceasefire breaches. On Saturday, Lebanon Health Ministry said that 4 people have been killed in Israeli airstrikes in southern Lebanon. The ministry had earlier announced that Israeli strikes on southern Lebanon killed 6 people and injured 2 on Friday. Israel's military released aerial images claiming 6 people killed in a clash in the town of Bint Jabal in the southern Lebanon region where Hezbollah fighters are located. Bint Jabal is an area in Lebanon that saw heavy fighting before a ceasefire was declared just last week. However, it is not clear if the deaths announced by the Lebanese Health Ministry were related to those claimed by Israel. Netanyahu says that Hezbollah is trying to sabotage Israel's efforts to reach a peace agreement with Lebanon.
We have started a process to reach a historic peace between Israel and Lebanon, and it's clear to us that Hezbollah is trying to sabotage this. We are maintaining full freedom of action against any threat, including emerging ones. We struck yesterday and we struck today. We are determined to restore security to the residents of the north.
Israeli tanks and troops could be seen moving across its border with Lebanon on Saturday as fighting continues in the region, despite an extension of the ceasefire. Huge plumes of smoke rising over the southern Lebanese village of Khiam was seen as well following Israeli strikes in the region. And this is despite the ceasefire extension which has been announced by the US President Donald Trump just days back. And let us also remind you, Donald Trump said Israel is prohibited from attacking. And these attacks take place in the midst of an extended ceasefire. Israel-Lebanon ceasefire remains highly fragile. Images released by the Israeli army show that what it says are strikes on Hezbollah military structures in the southern Lebanese area of Deir Armis, after accusing the Iran-backed group of launching rockets towards northern Israel. And meanwhile, the UN peacekeeping force in Lebanon, UNIFIL, also announced on Friday that an Indonesian blue helmet died in a hospital of wounds suffered during a March attack on his base. At the time of the attack, one Indonesian soldier was killed and another sustained injuries. A preliminary investigation by the UN found that the soldier was killed by an Israeli tank shell. While tensions persist along the Israel-Lebanon border, some residents in the border region are concerned of safety despite the extension of a truce. Many even say that the negotiations are unnecessary and that they don't trust Israel at all.
We left Aita when the war in Gaza began. Until now, we have not returned to Aita al-Shab, and we do not go up to the town. There was no safety in Aita, and it is forbidden to go to your town or to rebuild there. There is no safety. Even if young people want to go there, it is forbidden, even though the war has ended.
We reject peace. We reject any form of normalization with Israel. We reject any lawmaker, minister, or president who sits down with or meets them. And we reject any delegation that meets with them. These are the people who are killing us, and yet they want us to negotiate with them.
Over 2,000 people have been killed in Lebanon in the latest Israel-Hezbollah war, which started on the 2nd of March after Hezbollah opened fire with a barrage of missiles targeted at Israel to back Iran against the US-Israeli joint military campaign, which began on just days earlier on the 28th of February. Later, Israel launched extensive ground offensives in Lebanon in what Israel says is to target Hezbollah infrastructure in the region. And 2 British fighter jets scrambled from a Romanian airbase in response to a Russian drone attack on Ukraine. The fighter jets took off to engage Russian drones close to NATO airspace but did not open fire. Now, as the incident took place, Romanian authorities evacuated over 200 people from a zone where a drone crashed after Russian strikes in neighboring Ukraine. Romania, which is a NATO member, has repeatedly seen its airspace violated and drone fragments fall on its territory since the Russia-Ukraine war began in February 2022. The war is now in its 5th year. The 2 British Royal Air Force Typhoon fighter jets flew from Borcea Air Base in Romania immediately after the incident, and they are part of a rotating multinational NATO air mission to protect the Eastern European flank from Russian drone incursions, and this is amid the ongoing war in Ukraine. Romanian Defense Ministry said that it recovered drone fragments in the southeastern city of Galati. An electricity pole and a household annex also sustained damage in the incident. Meanwhile, Romania's president, Nicosor Dan, warned that the incident will be taken very seriously. This is what he said. I quote him, "This is the first incident where Romanian property has actually been damaged, a threshold we take very seriously." No casualties have been reported following the incident. However, authorities say that gas supplies have been cut as a precautionary measure. In 2025, Romania adopted a law authorizing it to shoot down drones that violate its airspace, but no such action has been taken so far. And the war in Ukraine is entering a dangerous new phase as it's now well into its fifth year. Russia has launched one of its largest aerial assaults in months. Authorities claim at least 7 people were killed and several were injured in this Russian assault. Ukraine has responded with unprecedented deep strikes inside Russian territory. Here's a detailed report. Take a look.
The night sky over Dnipro is lit up in flames. Russia has unleashed a massive aerial attack across Ukraine. The largest coordinated air assault in recent weeks. Explosions ripped through homes as a wave of Russian missiles and drones made their way into Ukraine. These are the images of Russian drones shot down by Ukrainian soldiers over Dnipro. Thick columns of black smoke could be seen streaming into the sky. Russia claims it deployed 47 missiles and 619 drones overnight, primarily targeting the city of Dnipro, while also striking the Kharkiv, Chernihiv, Sumy, Odessa, and Kyiv Oblast. The Ukrainian air defenses reportedly intercepted 580 drones and 30 missiles. Moscow's large-scale air attack has forced residents of Kyiv to take shelter in metro stations. In Dnipro, residents are stricken with grief and rage, wondering how many more lives will this war claim.
Can you imagine the force of the explosion? It was so loud. I was lying down when the first blast went off. Debris started raining down on me, and the balcony was blown away. And the last blast, it went off right next to me, and everything came crashing down. If I hadn't gone to the toilet, I don't know if I'd still be alive. As I understand it, all we need is a peace deal to end this bloodbath. Do not let it last until the last Ukrainian has been wiped out. Donbass is already a scorched land. He said, "Zaporizhzhia, I'll burn these towns to the ground." And that's exactly what's happening. Here you have it. The Russian forces' summer offensive has begun.
But Ukraine is no longer just defending. It is striking back, and striking far. In a bold and unprecedented move, Ukrainian drones traveled nearly 1,800 kilometers deep into Russia's industrial heartland, reaching the Ural region for the first time. This marks a record-breaking mission that bypassed Russian air defenses for over 10 hours. Russian authorities claim a Ukrainian drone hit a multi-story apartment building in Russia's fourth-largest city, Ekaterinburg, a home to many defense sector factories. This is the first attack on the city since the start of the war. Though there are no casualties, it is a chilling sign that the war is no longer confined to the front lines. This is the war that is expanding, geographically and strategically, from the battlefields of eastern Ukraine to the skies over Russian cities. The conflict is now hitting civilian zones on both sides. Amid the escalation, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says Kyiv is ready for peace talks with Russia in Azerbaijan. But the big question remains, is Moscow ready? For now, both sides are showing no signs of backing down. the war in Ukraine is entering a more dangerous and unpredictable phase. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
French authorities are investigating what appears to be the first known case of physical manipulation of real-world infrastructure to win prediction market bets separately. Prosecutors charged a U.S. Army Special Forces sergeant with using classified information to net $409,000 from bets on the capture of Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. And those are the latest in a string of incidents exposing structural vulnerabilities in blockchain-based betting platforms. Météo France filed a police complaint just last week after detecting suspicious temperature spikes at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, and that coincided with highly profitable, well-timed bets on Polymarket. According to a Financial Times report, on April 6th and April 15th, temperature readings at the airport spiked by several degrees Celsius within minutes, jumping to 22 degrees Celsius, despite ambient conditions suggesting 18 degrees Celsius. Now, that triggered payouts to traders who had bet on those exact readings. One wallet made $13,990 on a stake of less than $30 after betting that Paris temperatures would hit 21 degrees Celsius. Another wallet turned $119 into more than $21,000 by betting that temperatures would exceed 18 degrees Celsius. Now, on both days, trading volume in Polymarket's Paris temperature market exceeded $500,000, and that is more than double the typical daily volume. Members of an online weather forum who track data almost in real time first flagged the anomalies on April 6th, but initially assumed sensor glitches. Polymarket has since switched its Paris temperature resolution metric from Charles de Gaulle to Paris Le Bourget Airport. But the platform has not cancelled the resolved contracts for refunded bets. Now, the French case broke as prosecutors unsealed an indictment against U.S. Army Master Sergeant Ken Van Dyke, a communications specialist supporting the Joint Special Operations Command. According to the indictment, Van Dyke placed more than $33,000 in bets on Polymarket tied to the Maduro capture operation. And that was within hours of President Trump's January 3rd announcement that Maduro and his wife had been captured and flown out of the country. The bets generated $409,000 in winnings. The incidents highlight a fundamental tension in prediction markets. Their settlements rely on external data sources, government agencies, news organizations, think tanks, over which they have no control. The news sources' integrity can be compromised through physical tampering, insider access, or even social pressure. Polymarket does not require most accounts on its international site to provide identification documents, and that means that the company itself may not know who is behind a given bet. All right, viewers, that's a wrap on this one. Thanks so much for tuning in. Slipping into a very short break. Stay with us. This is WION. I'm Shiva.
Get the latest updates.
Destroy their
Breaking
missiles
news.
and raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is one.
The Char Dham Yatra, Yamunotri, Gangotri, Kedarnath and Badrinath is now fully open. Sri Lanka marks 7 years since Easter attacks. Painful wait for justice and accountability continues to weigh on the lives of the survivors and their families. Merciless bombings along the border of Afghanistan and Pakistan and displacement is creating an educational crisis in the country. All this and much more with me, Kripa, on Inside South Asia.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
Iconic stories and characters make a comeback. It's a wave of nostalgia on eClub. Know all about the style and buzz around the Devil Wears Prada too. Plus, fasten your seatbelt and get ready for takeoff with Top Gun 3.
I was curious to learn more about it.
And join us for an exclusive chat with Jim Sirk. All this and much more with me, Rhythm Sharma, on WION eClub at these times.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
5 states, 1 powerful voice. From Tamil Nadu to West Bengal. From Kerala to Assam. Every vote shapes the future. Get the election pulse, only on WION.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of World at War. I am your host, Jyotsna Kumar. On the 23rd of April, Russia said that its forces had hit Ukrainian targets across 138 regions in the past 24 hours. While on the same day, Ukrainian forces claim that they had conducted drone attacks against an oil pumping station in Russia's Nizhny Novgorod region. Following a brief ceasefire that took place over Orthodox Easter weekend, both sides have renewed hostilities in the war that is now into its 5th year. United Nations too warned that an alarming escalation in Russia's war against Ukraine is claiming the lives of an increasing number of civilians. Our next report brings you more details.
The Russia-Ukraine war, which is Europe's biggest conflict since World War II and is well into its 5th year, isn't exhibiting any signs of coming to an end anytime soon. Tens of thousands of civilians have been killed and millions have been uprooted from their homes. In the early hours of Friday, a married couple in their 70s were killed in their home by a Russian drone barrage on the Ukrainian coastal city of Odessa. Rescue teams worked through the night to evacuate residents and fight fires from the strikes. It is to be noted that Moscow has escalated its attacks on the Black Sea city of Odessa, a key logistics hub in southern Ukraine, and the country's largest port, which handles the majority of the Ukrainian grain and other maritime exports. Additionally, Russian drone attacks on the frontline region of Kherson also killed another 2 people, a 68-year-old man and a woman whose identity was still being established. A day earlier, the Russian Ministry of Defense had said that over the past day, Russian forces struck energy and transportation infrastructure used by Ukrainian forces, as well as temporary deployment sites of Ukrainian troops and foreign mercenaries across 138 areas. Earlier in the week, the Assistant UN Secretary General had warned that there has been an alarming escalation of fighting while there was no significant diplomatic progress.
Since we last briefed this Council on developments in Ukraine, we have seen an alarming escalation of fightings, while there was no significant diplomatic progress. Russian attacks continue to intensify, with mounting civilian casualties and devastation across Ukraine. In total, since February 2022, OCHR has verified that at least 15,578 Ukrainian civilians, including 784 children, have been killed. Another 43,352, including 2,668 children, have been injured.
On Thursday, the Ukrainian media outlets reported that Ukrainian drones attacked the